This is the chemical equations gizmo. The first thing that I want you to do is click this show if balanced. And right now there are no reactants and no products, so there's nothing to show here. But what that's going to do is that's going to show us if we've actually made sure that we have the same atoms on our reactants side as we do on our products side. And we know that matter cannot be created or destroyed, so anything that I have in my reactants, I also have to have in my products. So this is for our ethanol burning lab. And so the first thing that we have as a reactant is we know that we have ethanol. Now, ethanol is actually C2H5OH. OH. Another way that you could write this is C2H6O. I prefer this way just because of the way that the atoms are actually arranged. Now on our product side, we know that we have carbon dioxide, or CO2, and we also have water, H2O. And we know that because our BTB turned yellow from the CO2, and our cobalt chloride strips turned pink from the H2O. So if I put those in here, you can see now that I have some carbon, some hydrogen, some oxygen on my reactant side, and I have, again, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen on my product side. But this equation is not balanced. For one thing, I have 2 carbons on this side, and I have 1 carbon on this side. Well, CO2, the actual molecule there, it can't change. But I can change how many CO2 I have. So if I put a 2 in front of this, that will make it so that I now have 2 of those CO2 molecules. So that has fixed my carbons, but I haven't fixed my hydrogens and I haven't fixed my oxygens. So I want you to take a minute and try and balance this. Okay, you probably weren't able to actually balance this equation, and that's because we're actually missing a reactant. If you were able to make it so that you had the correct number of hydrogens, so here I've got 6 total hydrogens, and here I've got 2 total hydrogens, which means I'm going to need to have 3 water, then you'll have noticed that I have a lot more oxygen on this side of the equation than I do on this side of the equation. So what we're actually missing here is oxygen, and oxygen is O2. So now the question is, how many of those O2 molecules do I have to have in order to balance out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 oxygens that I have here? Please note that I have 1 oxygen in this ethanol molecule. So how many oxygens am I going to have? So if you were able to correctly balance this, you would see that you need to have 3 oxygen molecules in order to balance this chemical equation. I now see at the bottom here that this equation is properly balanced. So when we burn ethanol, because matter cannot be created or destroyed, we know that for every 1 ethanol, you have to have 3 oxygen molecules. And then what will come out is 2 carbon dioxide molecules and 3 water molecules. What we haven't accounted for in this is the energy. So next we'll need to look at the energy. This is only talking about the matter. Remember that energy is stored in chemical bonds. So those bonds between the carbon-carbon and the carbon-hydrogen atoms will have chemical energy.